So, as a lifelong Florida man, I feel somewhat compelled to weigh in on this Florida State Guard controversy that bubbled up on Friday. I wasn't really going to talk about it because I thought there was plenty of coverage from everywhere else, and I try and focus on things that other people aren't talking about. But I do think it's still a really interesting story regardless, and so I want a chance to get in my 2 cents about it. Now, by now, I'm sure most of you are aware that this story is not quite as exciting as the media make it out to be. This is the one time where I kind of wish that the media narrative was correct, because the way that this was spun, even really by, well, I shouldn't say this because I didn't watch his videos on it, but I mean, headline-wise, even Tim Pool was very much in line with the way that the mainstream media was pushing this, which was, oh, DeSantis creates, his own personal paramilitary organization, which is under his command and not the President of the United States. And while that is factually correct, it's missing the context, of course, that this isn't that strange of a thing. Almost more than a fifth, I think it was 22 other states in the country, have their own paramilitary organization, or state militias, which is what they're traditionally called, which are separate from the National Guard. What is today the National Guard used to only be the state militias, and then they were sort of organized and put under the direction of the President of the United States, which is something that I'm not particularly fond of. I think the national, what we call the National Guard should be completely state-run, and the President has his own military. He doesn't need to be calling out the state militias. And in the case of Oklahoma, I believe the Oklahoma National Guard is poised to split from the Pentagon and the federal government, and it will go back to being just a normal state guard or state militia. And that is, of course, over the vaccine mandate in the military, which Oklahoma does not want to comply with. They sought an exemption, which was denied by the Pentagon, and so I don't want to get too deep into that because I didn't study that ahead of time, so I might get some details wrong and I might not have updated information. But my point was that was getting floated around as a possibility that the Oklahoma National Guard would just split off from the federal government. And this is not a big deal. This is something that can happen. It's something that's happened in the past. Or rather, I shouldn't say that states have split off from the National Guard, but my point is states have had organized militias going back to the colonial era. So this is not like DeSantis is prepping for civil war, so he's raising his own army. It's not like what you saw in Yugoslavia in the late 80s and early 90s, where the individual states in that federation, because there was a Yugoslav federal army, then the individual states sort of started building up their own armies, and Croatia was smuggling arms in across the border from Hungary with the express recognition that they were preparing for a potential war with the other states. That's not what we're seeing here. First of all, what DeSantis is creating is only going to have like 200 people at first. And like I said, you've got a lot of other states that have their own separate guard or militia, which is not affiliated with the National Guard and is not at all under the purview of the federal government. Now, going back to what I said about Oklahoma, considering that DeSantis in Florida, we're supposed to be the most anti-vaccine mandate state in the country, I remember DeSantis was the first person I actually heard talk about vaccine mandates. When he started talking about it, I can't remember how many months ago it was, I thought, whoa, that's kind of out there. I mean, not that I thought it couldn't happen, but, you're not used to hearing politicians who are ahead of the curve. And he had some big press event with Scott Atlas and a few other doctors. And, he said, I want to make it abundantly clear, we're not going to make anybody get any shots who don't want it. And there will be no vaccine mandates here. And, of course, that rhetoric, he hyped it up more and more as vaccine mandates became more and more a reality across the country. And so I would have expected if any National Guard for any state was going to split off from the federal government over the vaccine mandate, it would be Florida, not Oklahoma. I mean, I'm glad that Oklahoma's splitting off. Wish more states would. Texas should, Tennessee, any state that has a substantial portion of the population who are not for forcing people to do these things, they should split off. It'll be a political win. And above all, it's the right thing to do. So rather than creating a separate state militia, I would have rather seen the Florida National Guard be completely separated from the federal government and have that become the state militia. And that actually would be a substantial force directly under the control of the governor and not the president. Then the media could probably more effectively make the case that, oh, DeSantis is preparing his own army for civil war. But last I checked, the Florida National Guard leadership is not trying to stop the vaccine mandate. And Florida National Guardsmen, like anyone else who's a part of who's under the Pentagon's umbrella, are going to be put on unpaid leave. Come here in, January that it begins? Now, maybe you could make some kind of 4D chess argument that DeSantis creating the separate state guard is going to be a way of trying to get around the National Guard, give people an outlet where they can quit the National Guard and join the State Guard, if they don't want to get these mandates. But he hasn't said anything about that. And if that was his intention, again, politically, that would be very popular. And he should have announced that. Maybe he's going to announce it in the coming days. But I can't speculate on that. I can't say something is smart based on what I speculate he's thinking. Because, again, 200 people, that's not a lot of folks. He's not, it's not like he's talking about replacing the Florida National Guard, or even coming up with something that's comparable to it. The only thing that was really based about DeSantis' announcement was that he emphasized that, hey, what's going to be great about the State Guard thing is that it's not encumbered, by any sort of federal controls. Which I guess you could say that's a dog whistle about vaccine mandates, or I guess the media would say, oh, well, that's a dog whistle about civil war. But at this point, based on what we know, this is an incredibly boring move that could have been made at any point in history. It's nothing special. It's nothing to get excited about or angry about. Now that can change. Like I said, this could be at a later point used as some sort of culture war tool. It could be used, like I said, as an outlet for National Guardsmen who don't want to get the vaccine. DeSantis can make a big thing and say, well, if the National Guard's gonna kick out these good guys, I'm gonna take them and give them a job in the State Guard. But until then, I'm not going to get too excited about this. So, with that said, I guess I'll leave things off here for today.